Pokémon Colosseum, one of the all-time greats of the Pokémon video game franchise. Or so I've heard. Surprisingly, I've gone my whole life without even playing Pokémon Colosseum, and I'm a die-hard Pokémon fan. See, growing up, my family never had the Nintendo GameCube. We just had the PlayStation 2, and then the Wii, which is like, I guess, statistically probable if you look at the sales numbers. And yeah, I know I could have emulated the game, but I could also just play Pokemon Emerald again. You know, so I've gotten comments on my videos about the villainous teams of Pokemon that I should do a Team Cypher video, Team Cypher being the antagonist, the villainous team of Pokemon Colosseum. And so I thought, well, before I could do one of those, I actually have to play the game first. I want to review Pokemon Colosseum from the eyes of a 20-something-year-old die-hard Pokemon fan who has absolutely no nostalgia for it. I'm Flyboy, and without further ado, let us get into my review of the first true 3D RPG experience of the Pokemon series. Oh, and just as a heads up before we get into the video, don't forget to hit that like button and to subscribe. I do everything from the scripting, to the recording, to the editing, to the thumbnails even, so it really means a lot if you would do that. Thanks, and enjoy the video. First impressions. I'm a sucker for cold opens in video games, Final Fantasy VII being probably my favorite one with that bombing mission. And you know what? Pokemon Colosseum has a cold opening, alright. And a bombing mission one at that. First off, it flashes this sort of desert wasteland setting that the game will take place in, and I love this setting, and we'll get into that into a later portion of the video, but it just looks great. And like I said in this cold opening, it's similar to Final Fantasy VII, where you're doing a bombing mission. Yes, you. The guy you just named after yourself, probably. If you're a kid, you're probably naming the main character your own name. You are bombing a facility. In this video, I'm going to refer to the main protagonist as Wes, as that's sort of the default name he uses. But I mean, just look at this guy. He looks like Virgil from Devil May Cry if you transported him into Pokemon. He just looks so awesome. Wes is looking cold as hell, and at the part where he steals the snag machine, he's got this sinister smile on his face. It just is so striking, so cool, and he rides away and he doesn't even look at the explosion. It is just a brilliant cold open. I love this. Also, the animations and the models of the Pokemon in this game are awesome. They're so expressive, they're cool, and the moves feel like they have this weight to them. Like when Umbreon bites, it's actually biting. At least that's what it feels like. And I know most of these models are just carried over from the Pokemon Stadium titles from Nintendo 64, but they also do the Hoenn Pokemon that weren't in those titles justice as well. Some of the overworld trainer animations and models are a little bit jank, but you know, it's from 2003. It was Genius Sonority's first go at a video game. I think it was their first one. So I give them a pass on that. And it's not too bad. It's just a little jarring at the beginning of the game. And finally, the music. Oh my goodness. I really wasn't expecting a lot. Like, I played Battle Revolution as a kid, and I really liked the music in that game, but oh my goodness, this music's great. One of my favorite tracks is the semi-final theme that plays in the Colosseum matches. It is just so good. I'm very impressed. So keep your ears open throughout this video. I'm going to be playing the music from this game throughout. But that's it for my first impressions on Pokemon Colosseum. Let's get into the gameplay. This game is a Pokemon game. You have 6 Pokemon in your party. They all have 4 moves. Those moves can deal damage. They can also cause status ailment. There's also stat boosting moves. There's also stat decrease. Anyways, this game is also not like your typical Pokemon game. There's quite a few differences here. Some of these core mechanics that are quite different from the mainline series Pokemon games is that every single battle in this game is a double battle. I find this addition is pretty awesome, and it makes the gameplay a lot less brain dead than all of the single battles in the mainline series games. And at this point in the franchise's history, double battles were brand new, just introduced in Ruby and Sapphire. And in Ruby and Sapphire, the double battle mechanic wasn't really pushed on the player, except for the Tate and Liza battle. I think every other battle was optional. So it's honestly pretty bold that this game had the double battle as its core game mechanic. It's a very bold move to make with such a new addition to the Pokemon series. Because of this, there's so many opportunities to use moves that you would never use in the mainline series games. Moves like Helping Hand, Reflect, Light Screen, that don't really seem too useful in single battles, become very useful in this game because you have that extra turn. The only downside here is it does get a little tedious at points because you have to select 2 leads at all times and you always have to make 2 selections. But you know what? That's what comes with having a game that takes a little bit more strategy than your average Pokemon game. Next, you'll find that there's no wild Pokemon encounters ever, period. There's none. And it's actually pretty cool thematically with the setting of the game, but again, I'll get into that in a second. This means the method in which you acquire Pokemon, capture them, is from other trainers. You snag them from other trainers, which sounds morally questionable, but we'll get into that when we talk about the plot. It's more plot focused than the other mechanics. But this snagging mechanic is really cool. It adds another element to trainer battles because when they have these snaggable Pokemon, you have to like play whether you're going to take some turns to try and capture it now, or do you keep it alive and kill the rest of the trainer's team. So it adds another element to the gameplay, which I find very cool. Now, another part of this is that your pool of Pokemon in which you can team build with is a lot smaller than your average Pokemon game. And team building is one of my favorite parts of the Pokemon game, but the variety they give you, I think, is big enough where you can make a pretty unique team, and you start with Umbreon and Espeon. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. The admin battles for Team Cypher have these catchable legendary Pokemon on their teams and employ different tactics that you can use in a double battle, like Rain Dance and Thunder. And so with these two together in these teams, this is where the mechanics and this new double style format really shines. However, the gameplay isn't going to be all praises from me. If you thought Diamond and Pearl were slow, let me tell you something. This is even slower. I told you in my first impressions that the animations for the Pokemon were very expressive and unique and cool, but after like the 10th battle, they start to wear out their welcome. The animations are just slow, and that comes with them being so expressive, but the fact that you always have 4 Pokemon out on the field, and they all have their own animations, and they also get animations when they take damage, it's just, it takes a long time to get through each turn in this game. By the end of the game, I was kind of just over this gameplay loop of all of these trainer battles that were taking so long. Nothing to do with the actual mechanics themselves, all to do with just the very slow animations. Now, speaking of trainer battles, there are no gym leaders. You have these different sort of Colosseums with their leaders, and really what functions as the gym leader, or sort of like the checkpoint for each segment of the game, is the Team Cypher admins. The villainous team admins sort of function as those gym leaders. I find this a lot more refreshing than when, let's say, Game Freak tried to shake things up with Sun and Moon, because the trial captains still felt like de facto gym leaders. They just didn't go by the name gym leader, while this game feels like it does have a natural progression without using gyms. And finally, going hand in hand with the no wild Pokemon, there are no routes to explore in this game. And so exploration is a little bit less than the mainline series games, because really it's just a bunch of isolated towns that you fast travel between. But there's still enough exploration within the towns themselves that gives you that feeling of mystery. But overall, these games feel very refreshing when compared to the mainline series games. Even with the small selection of Pokemon, I felt like I could team build enough. The double battles were very awesome mechanically. And while I did get expressive animation fatigue, is what I'll call it, I still found the game to be very satisfying every time you defeated one of the admins or a difficult trainer. The setting. I mentioned the setting a little bit in my first impressions and also in the part about the gameplay, but I just want to say how much I love this setting. I love this region. The Ore region, an absolutely desolate desert wasteland for the most part. The imagery of this sort of lifelessness is present even from the title screen, where it's just this vast desert with these Roman Colosseum little ruins in there. I think it's awesome how they set up this setting. In the cutscenes, when you fast travel between towns in the Ore region, you get this cutscene with Wes on his motorcycle. Like, I guess it's a unicycle. It has one wheel and it's like hovering in the front, so it's a unicycle. But you don't call a motorcycle a bicycle, even though it has 2 wheels, but you do call it a bike. So, you know what? We're just going to call it a motorcycle because it's got a motor on it. So, he rides his motorcycle, and unicycle sounds so dorky. Anyways, Wes rides this motorcycle through the vast desert wasteland, and it is so cool. I love the setting here. And speaking of these isolated towns and cities, I really think they all sort of fit this desert wasteland, like very corrupt settings. Like think about Tatooine in Star Wars. Like this is the feeling you get in the Ore region, not just when you look at the expanse of the desert, but also in each town. There is literally a town called The Under, which is like an underworld of a big city. There's, you know, it's very dark, very grungy, and you've got all this crime happening and all these neon lights. It's really cool. Now, another town that stands out is you have Agate Village. It's sort of this oasis in the wasteland, and it fits thematically with the mechanics of the game, where you purify Pokemon from being shadow Pokemon. So it's sort of like an oasis in the desert, like it purifies all these shadow Pokemon. Kind of cool. Now, speaking about Pokemon, it makes sense why there's no wild Pokemon. It is a wasteland. It's inhabitable for Pokemon. That's Maxie from Omega Ruby's dream, having a desert wasteland with no Pokemon. But towns rarely even sell Pokeballs here. As you've noticed, a lot of these game mechanics, a lot of the parts of the setting, all tie into the plot of the game very closely, which I think is a cool thing. It doesn't feel like there's this disconnect, like they just slapped Pokemon on Mad Max Fury Road. They actually took time to incorporate the gameplay of Pokemon into the setting. So you know what? Let's just get into the plot and the characters. First, the characters. So, what do I think about the characters of the game? Well, let's start with the protagonists. You have Wes, the main protagonist, and you have Rui. I think it's Rui. I should probably look this. Let's make a video. Rui, the secondary protagonist. These two are the main protagonists of Pokémon Colosseum. And one of the most interesting things about them is that you don't get a lot of backstory for them, but the little parts you do are very intriguing. These little bits and pieces of information you get about them are brilliant because they sort of ask more questions than they answer. It's like they give you just a little bit for your brain to just go down these different rabbit holes like, well, what does that mean? Why are they doing this? It's very cool. So let's start with Wes. He's our guy. He's the one you see stealing in the beginning of the game, blowing up the facility. He's our main protagonist. And like I said, you don't really get any backstory for Wes. All you know is that he was a member of Team Snag'em. Yes, the evil Team Snag'em, presumably up to the point where he betrays them and steals from them. And this is very intriguing and in contrast with what you usually get from Pokemon protagonists in these games. Usually you're just sort of this innocent, like 10-year-old child, and you really do have that hero archetype. You don't do anything bad or morally questionable. Meanwhile, with Wes, the main protagonist of this game, your first impression of him is him stealing, him breaking and entering, and him committing an act of arson. And then you find out in a couple towns over, he was a member of that evil team before this. Does Team Snag'em being evil justify Wes's actions here? Does it? I don't know, but I love this sort of morally questionable stuff you get from him in the beginning. It really portrays him as this anti-hero rather than the pure hero archetype we see in most Pokemon games. Wes already has two Pokemon when you start, that being Espeon and Umbreon. You could look at him having these two Pokemon in two different ways. You could take the cynical approach and be like, well, he stole them. Or you could take the more nice approach, which is he raised Eevee, two of them, to these Pokemon. And I'm inclined to agree with the latter one, and we'll get into that a little bit more at the end. But the fact that him having these Pokemon is up to interpretation on how he got them adds to the mystery of his character, and that's what I love just so much about this game. Next, you have Rui, who I talked about earlier. She's the secondary protagonist to Wes, and she has a lot less morally ambiguous things going on. She's more of a pure good person. She's a young girl with the ability to see whether Pokemon are shadows or not. The way she got these powers or why they have them are mysterious, so that adds a little bit of intrigue to her character. But it does get her into hot water when Team Cypher finds out she does have this ability. Team Cypher is the actual bad guys of this game. Team Snag'em sort of like secondary to them. But Team Cypher is trying to sort of pawn off these shadow Pokemon unbeknownst to the people. The people don't know they're shadow Pokemon, and Rui could get in the way because she could expose their whole operation. At one point, Wes runs into her, saves her, and they go together for a bit, and then things happen and they go on this whole grand adventure together. She loves Pokemon. She's very kind and caring. And I think it's a cool sort of foil to Wes, who we see as very he's very hard, he's harsh, and he's just cool. He's got that edge. And finally, I talked a little bit about them throughout the video up to this point, but you do have Team Cypher and Team Snag'em. Like I said, Team Cypher is really the main bad guys of this game, and Team Snag'em functions as sort of their vessel in which they capture Pokemon, because there's no wild Pokemon in the region of Ore, so that Team Cypher gave them this snag machine that Wes eventually steals, and that's how Team Snag'em was stealing others' Pokemon. In Team Cypher, from the outside looking in, they do have this sort of main guy Nascore, but all the admins are these very unique and different high status people in the Ore region, and it makes it look like this just cabal of competing interests who are unified by their goal to make money and power by facilitating the use of shadow Pokemon. But now that we're here, and now that we've talked about Team Cypher, let's get into what I think about the overall plot of these games. Basically, Team Cypher is stealing other people's Pokemon and then locking their hearts, turning them into these sort of empty, hateful Pokemon that don't really feel emotions, but they're way more powerful. They seek not only wealth through their sort of Colosseum system they have set up, but also power and domination. As you see at the end of the game, there's this ultimate shadow Pokemon that they use. Only Rui is able to see which Pokemons have been converted and their hearts locked into shadow Pokemon, and so Team Cypher tries to capture her and keep her quiet. Wes, right after he had stolen the snag machine in the intro of the game, bumps into these Cypher people stealing Rui, and he stops it. He saves Rui from these Team Cypher members and helps her find her dad in Agate Village, and this eventually spurs into this whole adventure where Wes and Rui work together to take down the different admins and different leaders of Team Cypher. Along the way, Wes captures and snags shadow Pokemon from trainers and purifies their hearts, unlocking them once again. This ties into the core game mechanic where you capture other trainers' Pokemon, and it's morally questionable. I mean, you're stealing other trainers' Pokemon, but it's for the intent to purify their hearts and unlock their hearts once again. So is it really that bad? I don't know, but that's what makes this game cool. Now, Team Cypher is sort of this perfect representation of how corruption and politics work, and I love that this is in a kid's game. Team Cypher's admins, Mirabee, Dacom, Venus, and Ein are all very unique in their designs. They're also very unique in their personalities and what they do. Yet they are all unified and working together, like I said, to carry out this plot to create shadow Pokemon and the ultimate shadow Pokemon for world domination and power. And this reflects how real power and corruption works in the world. Rarely, if ever, are the actual villainous teams in real life actually led by one sole leader and everyone's got the same uniform on, like Team Rocket or something. It's always these different competing interests working together through quid pro quo, through I'll do this, you do that, and this is how it all works. Furthermore, just like in real life, Team Cypher uses Team Snag'em as a sort of auxiliary group to carry out all the dirty work for him. It sort of adds this layer of separation between the stealing of Pokemon, the truly heinous crime, and them selling shadow Pokemon and using shadow Pokemon. Finally, the actual villain of this game isn't the Sephiroth-looking Nascore guy. It's actually the mayor of the first town you sort of go into, and so you're teaching kids the good message of never trust a politician. Another cool subject matter of this plot is the moral questions that arise from the actions of Wes. Wes, by the end of the story, is obviously a hero. He ended Team Cypher's plot to lock away all the hearts of the Pokemon and use them for world domination, but the only way he got there was through very dubious means. I mean, he was a member of Team Snag'em, which allowed him access to know how to get the snag machine, and then he used that snag machine throughout the game to capture shadow Pokemon against the wishes of the trainers. Is Wes constantly stealing other people's Pokemon justified because he's purifying them? Basically, do the ends here justify the means? And I'm sure I could go a lot more into the moral grayness that is presented in these games, but it's very intriguing and it's very cool to see in a Pokemon game. So that you don't really see this type of stuff in these very simple games. Finally, what I love most about these games is the overarching themes of redemption throughout the story. The core mechanic of the game and sort of the plot of the game is the purification of the hearts of Pokemon that have been locked away and not turned evil per se, but you could see it that way. And this parallels perfectly with what happens to Wes throughout the story as well. His life up to this point, the intro of the game, was obviously a life of crime. Being in the Ore region, I kind of find it very easy to fall into that type of lifestyle. However, I'm of the opinion that the choice to have Umbreon and Espeon as his two starter Pokemon, while I mean it just looks cool, is not a coincidence. I think it's a little bit of storytelling. Now I know a lot of people bring up Cyrus and his Crobat and they're like, well, he loved his Golbat obviously, but I find this a little different than Cyrus because Cyrus doubles down on his sort of villainy till the very end, which we'll talk about in a later video, while Wes does turn a new leaf. The story being told with Umbreon and Espeon, at least how I see it, is that Wes always had this sort of love for Pokemon and others in his heart, but it had been locked away by his time in the Ore region, committing these crimes with Team Snag'em, and so it was there, but it was pushed deep down beneath. The reason I say this is because you need a high friendship with an Eevee to evolve it into either Umbreon or Espeon. It takes a lot of care, and so that little bit of love he had locked away was represented through these two Pokemon. Now you could also say that he stole these Pokemon, but that sucks thematically, so I'm going to ignore that. I'm sure after Wes stole the Snag Machine, he was well on his way to carry out this sort of life of villainy on his own volition solo, but he runs into Rui. This one person that he accidentally runs into essentially changes his life for the better, and he's able to pursue a life of doing good rather than evil. Of course, Wes had to choose this life of good as well, and what I love what the game did is they represented this choice that Wes made through these several yes or no options in the game, and I checked. It doesn't matter what you select because the game has to have a linear story, but at least it represents that Wes is actively choosing this life and not just doing it out of obligation for Rui. The former member of Team Snag'em, who used to terrorize the people of the Ore region, was the one who ultimately saved them from the clutches of Team Cypher, and I think that is a beautiful story of redemption in this Pokemon game. It reminds me of a verse from the New Testament, Romans 8:28. It says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose." Jesus Christ is the orchestrator of our lives, and he puts many things in our paths, including people and relationships, to guide us towards good, not to just make us better, but to help carry out God's greater purposes. Wes here, like I said, had this love for Pokemon and people locked away, and Rui was put into his life, and through her, he was able to work with her to unlock his heart, to purify it, and to do good rather than evil. And what a beautiful thing to teach young children who play this game. Like Wes, we are all sinners one way or another. But also like Wes, we can purify our hearts and truly change to bring good into this world. And sometimes all it takes is just one person to change that, to start this change, and in this case, it was Rui. Overall, Pokémon Colosseum is an old game. It's an old game for sure, but it's got charm, and I think it's got a great story. I have absolutely no nostalgia for this game. I didn't play it as a kid, but the story and plot kept me playing, kept me excited, even when the gameplay itself felt slow as molasses at times. Now, this does beg the question, does this 20-plus-year-old game hold up? Well, of course. Have you been listening to the video? I love this game. I think this game is so refreshing to the Pokemon series, and it's what Pokemon Legends Arceus wants to be so desperately. It shakes up the standard just enough, but keeps it familiar enough to not feel like a completely foreign game. And it also has a surprisingly deep and, how do I say this, morally ambiguous plot and story that is really cool and innovative for a Pokemon game. That's going to do it for me in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know if you want me to do another video like this on Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, the sequel to Pokemon Colosseum. I'm Flyboy. Make sure to hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and share this with all of the friends in your life who love Pokemon. Also, make sure to comment below what you think, not just about the video, but what you think about Pokemon Colosseum as well. Did you play it as a kid? Did you only recently play it? What are your thoughts about the themes, the gameplay, and so on? But until next time, peace.